Whoever seeks to understand the history of a specific people needs to turn to history books. But if one wants to feel and connect with their feelings and experiences through time, without a doubt, art is a reflection of those who walked on that ground and how they responded to their reality. Cinema is a language that holds both civilization and culture of every society. In other words, it archives the memories of lives from its era. Abbas Kiarostami, an Iranian director whose hybrid films were rooted in a deep understanding of his people, managed to engage with humanity on a larger scale. In this essay, we focus on that unique approach that Kiarostami redefined the connection between fiction and reality. Jean-Luc Godard, a key figure in world cinema who challenged traditional norms, contended that fiction and documentary are like continuous curves on a Mobius strip, inseparable vehicle of a double movement that projects us toward others while taking us inside ourselves. In Nietzsche's book, The Birth of Tragedy, he talks about two central concepts, the Apollonian and the Dionysian, representing two opposite approaches to art. The Apollonian symbolizes order, harmony, ideology, and individuality, while the Dionysian reflects intense emotions, chaos, the loss of individuality in a collective experience. If we want to reflect on this perspective in cinema, fiction aligns more closely with Apollonian qualities, which emphasizes structure and order. In contrast, documentary captures the essence of Dionysian, focusing on unpredictability and a sense of unfiltered reality. A filmmaker first begins with an abstract idea in his mind and then faces the challenges of that image into reality, the old tension between idea and material. Abbas Kiarostami was a filmmaker who bridged these two realms, creating remarkable films which these forces are neither complete order nor complete chaos, but rather what lies between these poles. His curiosity was the driving force to start his journey into cinema without any background, which led him to discover this medium of film through his own way. Between 1970 to 1989, his target audience has been children and the Iranian educational system, with a focus primarily on documentaries. He believed the only influence he ever pursued in making films was life itself, not literature or cinema. For Kiarostami, reality is something sacred that always fascinated him. In 1989, he released one of his remarkable documentaries, Homework. Inspired by observing his own son's experiences with homework, this documentary is based on asking questions to primary schools one by one. In Abbas Kiarostami's Homework, the focus is on the concept of repetitive practice imposed by the system, with children struggling to follow a rigid structure. The documentary begins in a tense, interrogation-like atmosphere, where the filmmaker intentionally creates an authoritarian space, where the camera pointed at the children like a gun, repeatedly shown throughout the documentary, which is the student's point of view. As a result, students claim to enjoy homework rather than watching cartoons, and fear forces them to hide the truth. With a clever focus on a small society, the future generation, the filmmaker examines how people's behavior is shaped by authoritarian systems on a small scale, which reflects the profound effect of each authority on individuals and society. Leonardo da Vinci once said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication," a concept that is close to Abbas Kiarostami's approach in filmmaking. He usually started with a simple idea, not a fully developed script or a fixed ending. But he believed in an agreement between the active audience and the filmmaker, where a good film truly begins after it ends in the theater. Kiarostami preferred not to work with famous actors and often allowed reality to blend with fiction, letting life shape the story rather than the other way around. This approach is similar to cinema.Verite and the works of filmmakers like Giga Vertov and Jean Roche, who also aimed to show life as it truly is without any interference. After 1989, although Kiarostami maintained this minimalist style, he began to explore more complex characters and themes, adding greater depth to his films. Kiarostami viewed his films as poetic, which comes from the fact that he was also a poet. Like a poet carefully choosing words, his films avoided excessive explanation, instead offering a prism, an unfinished puzzle inviting viewers to decode and complete the incomplete parts as they wished. In 1997, Kiarostami released Taste of Cherry, a story about Mr. Badi'i, a middle-aged man seeking someone to bury him after his planned suicide. The film characters are real people, not actors, and little is revealed about Badi'i's motives, and the ambiguous ending is left purposely open. Unlike most films about suicide, Taste of Cherry shifts focus from personal tragedy to its central theme, leaving much for the audience to interpret. Capturing reality in a documentary does not guarantee artistic aesthetics or qualify as art on its own. Another element must harmonize the whole. The filmmaker's perspective plays a vital role in the process. Art reflects a type of realism shaped by the selection and cultivation of ideas, highlighting both the events of its time and the unique vision of the artist to approach the truth. True art must also stand on its own and keep its independence. As Hemingway once said, "The hardest thing is to make something true, and sometimes it must be even truer than truth itself." In conclusion, the political realities that impact human lives cannot be ignored. However, poetic films like those of Abbas Kiarostami do not claim to be political. Instead, they focus on humanity, avoiding any ideology. Rather than linking the viewer to ideologies or political discourse, he tries to connect them to people, familiar and relatable. As Roland Barthes speaks of the death of the author in literature, Kiarostami's films often began with a personal idea, but in the process of bringing that idea to life, he stepped back. This death of the creator ensured that the film and the characters take shape on their own and live on their own terms.